Welcome. Um, yeah, in the last session, we started looking into Power BI for business intelligence. We explained extensively, we looked extensively into, what Power BI is, what it attempts to, the problem it attempts to solve, and just we had a quick look around the ecosystem, Power BI desktop, Power BI service, and things like that. So in this class, we are going to be looking into Power Query, and um, in the last one, we um, got to understand that Power BI comes bundled with a different software that is dedicated for doing data cleaning. So if you are familiar with Microsoft Excel, you are going to know this also, that Microsoft Excel, at least the newer versions, I think from 2020 or maybe 2019, they come bundled with Power Query. And what's Power Query? Power Query is Microsoft's own dedicated software for doing data cleaning. Just that's what it is for. Just data cleaning. And it is one of the biggest component in the Microsoft Power BI ecosystem. So all of our data cleaning, we do it inside Power Query. Then once we are done with the cleaning, we move the cleaned data to Power BI. And sometimes it's a lot of back and forth from you clean, you move to Power BI for visualization and the business intelligence part. Then you find some things that do not align with what you want to do again. You go back to Power Query again, you clean, and it's just like a repeated cycle like that. So in this particular class, we are going to be focusing solely on Power Query. Yeah, so let's get into it. I'm going to be starting up a blank report, and because I want you to be able to, replicate this, everything that is covered in this video, we are not going to be loading a different data set because that would require that I put the data set on a platform, maybe on GitHub, then you have to download, and anything might happen, you might not be able to download it. Or if I should say everybody should refer to cargo and stuff like that, there might be issues. So, just for the sake of easy reproducibility, I am going to be working with Power BI's own sample data set. So, a particular sample data set comes bundled with Power BI, and that should be more than enough for us to use to really get acquainted with using Power Query. So to load that data, in the last class, we looked at how to load data, we looked at how to load CSV files, Excel files, we looked at how to connect to SQL databases. So in this class, we are just going to be working with a sample data set. So if you are inside Power BI like this, you should just click on this particular use sample data. Then you're going to see this dialog box. Click on load sample data. Then that is still connecting, still connecting. Yeah, it's done. So it's going to bring out a dialog box like so. And you want to click on sheet one. Just check this sheet one. And if you want to click on this place, you probably should just double click. It says the field of sheet one of the record wasn't found. Maybe click on financials. Right. Let me uncheck sheet one. All right. So I think it's financials. So just click on financials. There is nothing in sheet one. So inside financials, we are getting a snapshot of what we are going to be working with. So we have segment, country, product, discount band, unit sold, manufacturing price, and all of that. So even The way this is also the way this dialog box is also the same thing that you get if you try to load the data set from any other source, let's say database, CSV, Excel. This is still the same black box that you get, and you have this load and transform data. And I think I mentioned in the last video that if you click on load, that takes you straight to Power BI desktop, meaning that, okay, what you are like telling the system is this data set is fine the way it is. I'm not interested in cleaning it. I just want to go ahead and start modeling and start building dashboard. But if you click on transform data, it means that you want to actually clean. You are interested in cleaning. So that is why we're going to click on this, because we want to go clean the data. So if you click on transform data, it's going to load the data into Power Query. If you click on load, it is going to load the data into Power BI desktop. So in this case, we click on transform data, and that should bring up Power Query. And we are here. Perfect. Perfect. So our data set has been loaded into Power Query. We're going to go ahead and start cleaning it and use, that cleaning activity to get really familiarized with how Power Query works. So, the first thing that I like to get out of the way when I'm showing people how to work with Power Query, the very first thing is step. And once you understand steps, you get the hang of the core principle behind the way Power Query works. And what steps? Yeah, you're going to see applied steps here. I could close this, open it. Yeah, so this place is steps. Now, what is these steps? So generally in Power Query, um, you cannot you cannot do Control Z. The popular way by which you undo things, you can't do it in Power Query. And why is that? You might think of that as a disadvantage. No, it is not a disadvantage. The reason is because you are doing um cleaning, data cleaning, and things are expected to be, you know, uh very, very impactful. Like the things that you do, the new columns you add, the columns you delete, and things like that, they are expected to be, very profound. And if you do a lot of Control Z, Control Y, and all of that, you might just get lost in a way where it is difficult for you to retrace your step. Right, to retrace your steps. So to avoid doing that, to avoid getting stuck in that kind of situation, the creator of Power BI, the creators of Power BI, they actually made this tab here called steps, and everything you do in Power Query gets logged in this step. Like every single thing that you do gets logged in these steps here. In fact, these three steps that you already see is the first one is where we connected to the source. Second one is the navigation. You know, we navigated to uh, the dataset financials of the kind table, and we grabbed the data. And the third one is we changed the type of the data of each of the columns. We changed it to the appropriate data type. So those three things, Power BI has already done it for you. For example, if I should go back to the second step here, which is navigation, so I can say that as at that time, the data type has not been determined for any of these columns. You're going to see that it has ABC123. We're going to get deeper into this part, but just look at this. For example, sales, this thing here tells the data type of a column. So sales is expected to be in a number, and here it is just ABC123. And whenever you see ABC123, that's Power Query's way of telling you, well, I do not know what this column data type is currently. And if you look at the whole thing, even month name, date, they are all ABC123. But then if you check the next step that Power BI has already done for us, change type. After that step executed, you're going to see that everything is now in the right data type. Discount is now decimal, gross sales is decimal, sales price is whole number, manufacturing price is whole number, month name is text, date is date. So that is step. If I should remove this particular step, it is going to revert this. All of this right data type thing is going to remove it. And I have to manually go add the right data type, which is not what we want to do. So that is what step is. And every single thing that we do by ourselves also, it is going to get logged here as a step. So that is let's take the very first one and see what's the first thing that we're going to do. First thing I like to do is whenever I'm cleaning data, especially like just the first introductory kind of cleaning, and which is also a way for me to really get acquainted with my data set, is to make sure that each of the column data type are consistent, like everything is in the right data type. And if you are using Power um, query, you always in most cases find that to be true. Like the data types are usually going to be consistent, but not every time. Sometimes you still want to like fix that. So now, this year should not be whole number really. As a matter of fact, we don't really even need it. We don't need this year, month name. We don't need it. Like we don't need them broken into these three columns because we already have date. And I'm going to say that these three columns is just the information that is here. 1 2014, 1 then 1 then 2014. So we don't need this. What we do is we drop these three columns. So I'm going to click on this, hold control, click on this, hold control, and click on this. That is hold control key on your keyboard. Let me do that again. Now, there is this thing that pops up whenever I click on a particular column, and it's kind of like a way for us to look at the properties, the statistical properties of a column. If you don't want that, you can click on view here and remove this column profile. So if you should click on anything now, it does not do that anymore. So I'm going to click on month number again, hold control, click on month name, hold control and click on year. Now I want to remove these three columns. Why? Because they are redundant. All the information inside these three columns, they are inside it. So there's no point in carrying them. So what do I do? I'm going to right click and you're going to find remove columns. And if you want to remove the other columns and keep these three columns, you click on remove other columns. So in this case, we want to remove these three columns. So how can we do that? We're going to click on this remove columns. And if we do that, what do we have? Those columns are gone. And we have a new step logged that says removed columns. If I should remove this step, let's say I want to undo this thing, I just find out like, oh, I do not want to do this. I want to actually keep these three columns I removed. All you have to do is just come here and remove the step. And what does that do? It brings back the three things that you removed earlier. So that's the whole point of step, like helps you to log things. So I'm going to redo that and remove these three columns. So remove columns, they are gone. So now, here's the thing now. These removed columns, this activity here, this particular step here was actually done, even though what we did was, select those three columns and dump it. There's actually a code representation of that thing, which is here, right, in this place. So if I want to like remove some other new columns, let's say I want to remove some more columns that I find out later, I can always just look for the particular column and I want to remove. Let's say I want to remove discount band also. I want to remove this discount band. All I have to do is come to this place and say comma and type that in. Just edit the code. Sorry, excuse me, discount band and enter that. Sorry, not enter. Use this particular thing here. And now, if you search here, discount band also is gone. So you can edit that. Another thing that you can do is you can also just do the same style of still, holding, selecting each of the columns and right clicking and removing. It is not going to create a new step. It is going to add it to the existing step. So what does that mean? It means that if we are doing two different activities consecutively, And it is important that you remember that consecutively part. If you are doing um if you are doing the same activity consecutively, Power Query is not going to create separate step for it. It's just going to be one step. And the way it works is it is going to just update the previous step. So, for example, the first step that we did was removed columns. Let's say the next thing I want to also do is we want to also remove more columns. That is, we look at this and say profit is going to be um sales, which is what we sold, minus cost of goods sold. I'm guessing, yeah, sales minus cost of goods sold. If you subtract sales minus cost of goods sold, that is going to give you profit. So there's no point in having profit. So I could click on profit. Then discount here is going to be gross sales minus sales. That's going to give us discount. We also don't need that. I'm going to put control and click on that. Then let's just remove those two. Actually, there are more things. For example, cost of goods sold is is going to be um manufacturing price multiplied by unit sold. That's going to be cost of goods sold, COGS. So we can also remove COGS, and we can, like I said, remove discounts. Then gross sales is going to be gross sales is going to be no, we should not remove discount. Let's leave discount. So sales price multiplied by unit sold. That is going to give us gross sales. That's going to give us gross sales. And we can also remove normal sales. This normal sales here. Why is that? Because that is going to be minus discount. And that's the reason why we are not removing discount. So we are going to remove gross sales, we are going to remove sales. So we are going to just leave discount, sales price, which is kind of like unit price, manufacturing price, and unit sold. Yeah, we're going to remove all of those. So if I should remove those, right click and say remove columns. We are not going to get a new step here. We're just going to get this list updated. This particular list here is going to be updated. So if I say remove columns, can you see we did not get another one, but this list got updated. So if I should make this bigger, can you see all of these lists is updated? So that is the way to do that. But the important thing now is if I should, you know, do something in between removing columns. Like let's say I remove three columns, then I do something else. That is, I actually make a change that does not concern removing columns. Then I remove another column again. That's going to be two different steps of removing columns. Yeah. So that is that. Now another thing is that if you should do something like that where you do something in the middle, you remove columns again, and all of that, it is just going to keep naming your steps here. It's going to keep naming its removed columns. That is, the first time you remove columns is going to be called removed columns. The next time you remove another column is going to be called removed columns one. So sometimes you want to rename steps and make them very descriptive. And this is important, especially when you are working as part of a team. So how can we do that? You can right click here. Excuse me. You can right click here and either directly rename here or come to properties. And you're going to get this dialog box. You can rename this and say removed redundant columns. Then in this description, you can write a lot of things, probably the rationale behind it, the reason why you did what you did. If there is any important thing that you need to put there, so that whenever you or something that just serves as a quick reminder, you can put it there. So like saying remove date columns or that were splitted, comma, and also the numeric columns that are not primary. That is columns that depend, that on another columns that we can derive. So those are the things that we remove. So if I should say okay now, then come here. The name has changed to removed redundant columns. And if I should put my mouse on this tip here, it gives me the description of what I actually did. And this is very nice. It is a very, very important thing in tech generally and data analysis to always, always to always document everything that you do. So yeah, and that's that. So let's look at more things to do. So the next thing we're going to do, we've made this really, really lighter. We've made it smaller. So let's look at how to add columns. You've seen how to remove columns. You've seen, and if you want to change data type, if you want to change data types, all you have to do is click on this place. So let's say we want to change this to date time. You can click on this, and it says, can you see? We changed this data type from date to date time. I just clicked on this and I chose date time like this. Now, what has happened? The name now is change type one. And the reason why it says change type one is because, well, there is a step in between the last change type that we did, meaning they were not consecutive. So it just named this change type one. And what you should always do in situations where this happens is you should probably rename this. You should rename this. Or you might just want to do the right thing, and instead of doing change type one here, let me remove that. You can always go into the previous change type, the previous step that looks like that, and you can edit it. You can edit this particular one here. So segment was changed to type text, and you can just add yours. There are a lot of them, right? So you can add yours also and say date, type date time, or edit the existing one. So maybe say type, I think date time, something like that. So like this, if you run that and run this, you come here now, where are you? You see our date now is in type date time without us actually having a new step that just clutter that's just clutter this whole space. So yeah, that is that, but I do not want that to be in date time. I want it to be in date. So I'm going to return it back. Now that is the way to change data types. So you can always just click on this particular thing. This is the easy way to change data type. You can do it here. Right. So the next thing we are going to be looking at is how to add new columns. How do we add new columns? How do we add new columns? So if we come here and we say add columns, there are actually different types of columns that you can add. The first one is index column. For example, there are no other IDs here, or there are no unique identifier here, so we can add one, and we can do so with index column. So we can come here and say index column, and we are going to talk about where we want to start from. If you click on from zero, it's going to start indexing from zero. That is, the first row is going to get zero. If you click on one, it's going to start indexing from one. And if you click on custom, it is going to allow you to pass in where you want to start and where you want to end. Sorry, and the interval, not where you want to end, where you want to start and the interval between each point. And let's use custom. You should already know what this from one and from zero does. It's easy, but let's look at custom. So we click on custom. Now it is saying insert step. Are you sure you want to insert a step? Inserting an intermediate step may affect subsequent steps. What does that mean? Like I told you earlier, step is a very, very important thing in Power BI. So what happened is when I attempt to do another thing, when I attempt to do something new, which was to create an index, The last thing I clicked on was not the last step in the steps, in the list of steps. It was second to the last. So Power BI is asking me, are you sure you want to insert this new thing in between the second to the last step and the last step, right? And he's saying, well, if you do that, it might cause the last step to misbehave in some situations. Are you sure you know what you are doing? So in this case, that's not what I want. Although if I still click insert, it would have worked because this new step does not depend on the previous last step. But that's not what I want. So I'm going to cancel this and firstly click on the last step. So it's important. If you want normal behavior, make sure that before you do something new, the last the step that is checked here is the last step. Make sure you are always on the last step. So I should do the same thing again and say insert custom like this. It's not going to show me that box anymore. So it's not going to show me that warning anymore. So I'm getting this new box that says starting index. Where do you want to start from? I want to start from 1001 and I want it to increment it by 1. It's going to go 1001, 1002, 1003. The index number. It's just index number. There's nothing there. So I say, okay. Now I have a new index number here and it starts from 1001. So I can edit the name instead of calling it index. How can I do that? I'm going to double click and call it order ID like that. Enter, and that also is another step. So there are two steps now. Added index, that is, we added this index column. Number two is we rename the column. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to put order ID as the first column. So I can just drag. I'm going to drag all the way to this place, all the way here. So I drag all the way here. Now order ID is the first thing. Now I have another step here that says reordered columns with the code here. So it means if you want to further reorder it, all you have to do is edit this code. Yeah, that's great. So we've seen three things: how to add index column, how to rename a column, how to reorder a column. So let's look at a way to um, create a new column. So let's look at creating a custom column, right? So earlier we deleted cost of goods sold, which is um, let's rename this sales price to unit price. I am much more comfortable thinking of this as unit price. So if I think about it as unit price, it makes sense. Now, yeah, our cost of goods sold is unit price multiplied by mm, unit price multiplied by no. Our cost of goods sold is manufacturing price multiplied by unit sold. So let's get um let's say we want to get a column for cost of goods sold again. We're just going to click on custom column. And this custom column is how we just create columns based on mathematical expressions and just normal functions. Anything that does not involve conditionals. So we come here and we say COGS, which is sorry, COGS cost of goods sold, and that is going to be two things that you can do. You can type the name of the column, or you can just click here manufacturing price and say insert, and you get manufacturing price like this multiplied by uh unit price. Sorry, or you can type it like this unit price. So if I say in real time, you get these no syntax errors have been detected. And if I should do something wrong, it's going to like in real time show you that there is an error. So if I should click on OK, I get back COGS column, which is oh no, this is wrong. This is not supposed to be unit price. It's supposed to be multiplied by unit sold. Excuse me. Supposed to multiply by unit sold. There's an error Let's check if unit sold is written as unit sold. Okay, it's units sold. Units sold. Units sold. Sorry. Units sold. I think we are good. Yeah, we are good. So now we have COGS, which is the product of manufacturing price and unit sold. Now, but what happens is, well, whenever you create a new column in Power Query, it does not come with the data type correctly defined. So you are going to have to be the one to go in here and choose the data type. And in this case, it's going to be decimal number. So the difference between decimal number and fixed decimal number is obvious. Decimal number allows, you know, any number of um floating points, after the decimal point itself. But fixed decimal, make sure that you keep everything in the same decimal places. So I'm just going to click on decimal number. So this becomes like this. So that is the way we create a new custom columns. And like I said, custom columns are what you create when you need to do some mathematical operation or just some function operation generally. So, and duplicate column is, you want to duplicate a column. You want to like create a copy of another column. In some cases, you need to do that. That's what that does. Then conditional column, which is the last one we're going to be looking at. Conditional column, how does that work? Yeah, it allows us to create these things based on conditions. So, for example, let's say we want to create that discount band again. There are a lot of discounts. Or yeah, let's check here. So we want to say no discount. We want to have two different categories of no discount or discounted, whether discount was given or was not given. So if discount price is zero, we say given, not given, and if it is not zero, we say given. So how can we do something like that? We can come to conditional column and have, so we get this dialog box again, and we're going to say, let's just call it discount band. Let's call it that. So we have this if. I will say if discount is equals to value zero, then what should we say? I'm going to say not given. I'll just say not given. Else, this is a binary situation. Either it is given or not given. But let's say we want to uh, do three conditions. That is going to be, we're going to say add clause here so that we can add another clause. But in this case, just two conditions. So we're going to say given. So if I should run this, we're going to get discount band here. And for every zeros like this, all of these zeros, they are all not given. And for discounts are actually given, those ones are going to be called given, right? So, and like I said earlier, if we have multiple conditions, we click on the extra add clause, and that is going to give us an opportunity to do something like else if you are coming from a place like Python. And these two columns are not actually needed, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. They are just for instructional purposes, but I could leave them also, but I'm going to remove them. They are not so important. And just to show you. So there are a lot of things you can do in Power Query, majority of which we cannot cover in just this one video, even in three videos. But like there's something I believe, and this is that to actually master using um Power Query, you must actually get into it. Roll your sleeves up, get into it, play around with stuff, take on projects, and it gets better. So inside Transform, you are going to usually see things that involves working with rows and unique values in a cell. For example, replace values is going to help you replace values inside a particular column that is on a row by row basis. So for example, What countries do we have? We have United States of America, and let's say we want to change all of that to USA. I can say I can click on country first and say replace values and say replace values, and value to find is going to be United States of America, and replacement value is just going to be USA. Right, click OK. Now all of the United States of America, they've been changed to USA like this, like so. So that's that. Majority of them are self-explanatory, and their point and click. Few does exactly that. Find cells to neighboring empty cells. So if you have the empty cell, it's going to fill it with what is next to it. Pivot column for exactly doing that. Pivoting things. Split for splitting. Like the date that we saw earlier that was splitted to 1/1/2014. You can also split that. You can split a text column also, stuff like that. So that is a quick introduction to Power Query. And what we are going to do after that is we are going to load this back to Power BI. And how does that work? We're just going to click on Home. We're assuming that we are done with all of our cleaning. Click on Home, and we're going to say close and apply. Then we hit close and apply. And that is going to apply all of the changes that we've done. It's going to start loading it. At some point, it has started loading, and it's going to sync the whole thing and load the data set into Power BI for us to work with. So the last thing we're going to be looking at is, let's say it's still loading, but once it's done, let's say we've loaded our data into Power BI, but we want to go back to Power Query. If we found something that is not right, we want to go back to Power Query and uh, correct more stuff. How do we do that? The way to do that is just click on transform data. So to go from Power Query to Power BI, you click close and apply, close and apply. But to go from Power BI to Power Query, you click on transform data, and it takes you back to Power Query. So our data is done loading, and here it is, everything that we have. If you should click on table view, you are going to get um, this. Great. So other ID like we created earlier, and every other thing that we created and deleted and removed and renamed and all of that, they are all here. So if I want to go back to Power Query, I'm just going to click on Home, click on this transform data. And if I should click on transform data again, it opens up Power Query again for me to continue cleaning exactly where I stopped, if I still want to do that. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, cleaning is not a one-time thing, it's a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I say we are done. Again, we've cleaned something, we are done. We click close and apply again, close and apply, closes this up, takes us back to Power BI desktop, which is where we are currently. So thank you for tuning in. That is that on introduction to data cleaning in Power BI desktop with Power Query. In the next class, we are going to be looking at choosing the right visuals and how to format each visuals. And I cannot wait to see you in that one. Yeah, bye.